So I'm catching up again with Karen Salmon from Marlborough Law, and Karen, you are continuing to have a really busy time, and one of the caseloads that's increasing for you very sadly at this time is divorce. Is that correct?
Yes, Penny, good afternoon. Yes, I'm afraid now that the lockdown restrictions are lifting and people are going back to work, and some children are going back to school, it is allowing people to really consider what's gone on in the last 10 weeks. For some couples, it's been great, and they've relished in being together for a change, and others it's been rather hard. I think money worries as well probably hasn't helped, and the children at home, if there are children involved, trying to get them to do online schooling and things like that, it's probably caused a lot of tension. So we are finding quite a few telephone calls now asking, what position they would be in. We always like to discuss what position a family is in before we give any sort of advice on what's the best thing to do. But it definitely has gone up. Certainly in the last 2 weeks, we've had about 6 or 7 inquiries.
I mean, I remember press when the lockdown was lifted in Wuhan. Apparently, there were 350 divorces filed on that first day. So, unfortunately, it's not surprising. It's a bit like Christmas, but Christmas on a huge. Do you get a lot of divorces after Christmas in January as well?
Yeah, definitely. The recent statistics said that on the 6th of January this year, there was a 230% increase on people looking online about how do I get divorced. But yeah, it's called Black Monday, unfortunately. It's terribly sad. But yeah, I mean, as I say, we've had 6 or 7 and we only cover Marlborough and Hungerford. So you can imagine what the rest of the country is like at the moment. And also coupled with the fact that yesterday in the Commons, we had the second reading of the Nofault divorce bill, which was finally, hopefully, going through. It certainly has the backing. I think it's 73% of family practitioners are for the no-fault divorce.
So just to remind people what the no-fault divorce means.
So basically, at the moment, in order to prove to the judge that you can apply for a divorce, there are 5 different reasons: adultery, bad behaviour, basically, 2-year separation, desertion, and 5-year separation without consent. If you don't give consent, you have to wait 5 years. So most people go for the breakdown of behaviour, which causes tension because you have to basically disclose what the other person's, your spouse's bad behaviour is. And that does cause tension. So the no-fault divorce is basically a system where you don't apportion blame to either party.
Okay.
It's just a breakdown, and you can't put your finger on it, or neither party wants to blame the other party.
Okay. But it doesn't make it easier for one person to divorce somebody else who doesn't want to get divorced.
No, it doesn't have an effect on that.
No. Okay. Okay. So this is good news, basically. It puts less.
Definitely. It's going to definitely reduce tension and hopefully create a few more amicable, if there's such a thing as amicable divorce.
So when somebody's going through a divorce, let's say there's absolutely no chance of them reconciling. They've tried every couples counselling there is, and they've hit the wall, and this is the next step that they need to take to move on with their lives. But there are obviously different ways of doing it, and I'm sure it's very important to you to make that process as unconfrontational, especially if there are children, as possible. What tips have you got for people to kind of survive the process without it being too awful?
Well, here we're not a confrontational firm, Penny. We don't believe in that. We try to make it as painless as possible. So yes, there's forms to fill in, there's boxes to tick, but we do encourage people to really think about what they want going forward. So obviously the first step into our office is a very big step. It's almost a step to a new life. But you do need to consider the children first and foremost, the effect on them, what you're going to tell them, how you're going to do separated parenting. The Swindon Family Court will say to parents, you should do a separated parents course. They're run by Swindon Borough Council, and it's basically to teach people how to separate parent, because it's difficult. Jealousy comes in, bad cop, good cop that you play. I've got the children during the week, I discipline them, and you let them run riot when they come to your house. You feed them pizza and burgers, and I'm trying to get vegetables in them all week, or trying to do their homework. So there has to be a cooperation between parents right from the very beginning if you're thinking of divorcing, because it will have effect on children.
And are West Berkshire residents eligible to take this course in Swindon, or is it?
Well, a lot of the divorces that we do go to Swindon anyway, whether it's Berkshire or not, because the Southwest divorce unit is done in Southampton. So all the petitions for here, and obviously I'm in Hungerford today, they will go down to Southampton. But if there are any child issues, we would file in Swindon, whether it's Berkshire or not.
Okay.
So, but we hope we don't get that far. We try and sort that out before it gets that far. We don't want to start proceedings for children contact. I think also managing their expectations. It's our job to manage people's expectations, not just do the paperwork. What they can expect in the divorce settlement, how we can apportion money, how any property and any houses, any assets that they may have, any income going forward, child maintenance, money for children. Unfortunately, when people do decide they're going to get divorced, they sort of think about today. How am I going to pay the bills next week? I just want the house and I want to walk away. But I try very delicately to say to them, well, that's okay today, but what about next year? What about the year after, when the children go to St John's and they need uniform and they need trips and they need, this, that and the other? Because, the cost of children gets bigger. So we have to think about that going forward. So we have to think about pension sharing, we have to think about maintenance, and things like that.
And I gather that, I have been divorced, but a long time ago, and I gather today you can do it online, but is that a long-term solution, do you think?
No, definitely not. Yes, you can do it online, but the online system is only for divorce petitions. So you may technically be divorced, although there is a waiting time for that. But you can't file any decisions or agreements you've had on money. Okay. So you get divorced now, but the financial side of it wouldn't be sorted, and you could come back after 5 years and be asked for part of your pension, or I want to sell the house now. Okay. We tried to get everything done and dusted. We certainly don't make any applications for the decree absolute until we have financial sorted out, because it doesn't let anybody move on with life, Penny. It doesn't. If people have new partners, or they want a new job, or it doesn't help anybody move on if you've got this dragging on you over it. I'm doing a case at the moment where it wasn't done 10 years ago, and we are literally dragging through it. And trying to look at valuations of property 10 years ago and now, it's just really, it's just cost for the other side. It's best to get it over and done with now. And again, that's managing expectations.
It's painful conversations, but it's not going to be any easier if you defer it when your lives have got even more separate and communication is really broken down.
Yeah, and the children might be a little bit older as well, so they need different things. And coming back after 10 years and say I want to sell the house, which means you and the children, who are only 16 and 14, need to move out. That's not pleasant. So it's best to get it sorted now and move on. And again, the arrangement for the children, we have to manage people saying, well, I want to see the children, I'm going to pick them up from school every night, and we're going to split the week. Well, that doesn't always work, Penny, because arrangements. So if you pick a child up from school after school on a Wednesday, and you have to take them to school on the Thursday, but where's the PE kit? Have you remembered the packed lunch?
Mm.
And kids who turn up at school with no PE kit or the wrong shoes on, unfortunately, get teased about that, and that will affect them going forward. And never let children down. I'm a child of that instance. When I was younger, my parents were divorced when I was 6. My brother was 4, and my father remarried. And we often sat on the step on a Sunday in our Sunday best, waiting for him to come and turn up. And my mum would get a phone call to say, Fran's got a headache, she's not coming. And I never ever let child down, and that's what I say to all my clients. No matter what you arrange, do not promise something you cannot stick to. It's not fair on the children. So.
And what about kind of explaining to the children why mummy and daddy don't get on anymore? If there's friction in the household, it's not the child's fault, because the children are very sensitive and they will pick up on any problems at home. So they need to be reassured that it's not their fault or their problem to deal with.
Definitely. Children feel they're caught in the middle. So if mummy's unhappy, they often think, oh, is it something I did? Or maybe I didn't do my homework, or I should have eaten my Brussels sprouts, or why is mummy sad? Is it my fault? That's the first thing children say. Is it my fault? So parents, obviously not 2-year-olds, but sort of 5 and 6-year-olds, be honest with them. Say, mummy and daddy aren't happy, but nothing's going to change, and this is what we're going to do. And you're going to have, if one party's moving out and you're getting a place, then involve the children in decorating their own room, or putting all their toys in there, or new toys, or whatever. And do it that way, because children pick up on tension, they pick up on arguments, and one day they'll say, well, you lied to us and we had a horrible childhood because you shouted and mummy cried, or daddy cried.
There must be a lot of parents who are frightened about splitting up because they're thinking that's the worst thing for the child, to have split up parents. But perhaps it's better to have separate parents who are happier than parents who stay together who are really miserable.
Yes, I would agree with that. There's no point in putting children through that as they grow up, when it can be avoided. Because you can parent separately, you can parent in different houses, and sometimes it is better for children. They'll hear things. If they hear shouting behind a wall, that doesn't help either situation, because again they think, oh, is it me? Are mummy and daddy arguing because I've done something wrong? Are mummy and daddy arguing because I'm not a good little girl? It's hard for children. So I'm not saying everybody who's got a problem, go out and get divorced or ring me up tomorrow. Well, what I am saying is, seriously consider the effect that your relationship breakdown is having on the children, and try and talk about it. It may be that it's just not possible to talk.
Have you had any cases where somebody's changed their mind, who's come to you for file divorce, but somewhere along the line they thought, actually we can save this marriage?
Yeah, we have, and we not many, but we have had a couple, and certainly it was when they actually started to work out what I think it was pots and pans and things like that, which the wife was going to pick up, and he was actually very nice about it. He was saying, you take whatever you like, and I think that was a turning point when she thought, actually, maybe he's being nice about it and I'm being a bit harsh. And we were told to put the case on hold. So that was quite nice. But not many, to be honest. I think once it's a big step to ring a solicitor about a divorce. It's a bigger step to walk through my office door. But I think once somebody's done that, it's kind of done. I think the other thing is, we get a few clients who've just been presented with paperwork from another solicitor. It's come in the post from the court. Oh, I've got a petition here, what's gone on, and haven't been warned. We don't do that. I don't like that at all.
So the partner, their other half, didn't talk to them about it. They literally just heard from a lawyer. Oh my gosh.
Or they put the paper up from the court. So we don't do that. If we have clients that want to issue a petition, we always send a letter to the other party as well, and to say, we're really sad to hear that your marriage is broken down, but we've been instructed to do this, and this is the reason we've done it. And the statement of case has to be harsh enough to prove to the court that your marriage has broken down, but we want to do this amicably. We want to do it for the sake of the children. So the first letter they will get is from me, saying that we want to do this in a nice way, a constructive way, rather than just a document from the court. I think that's the best way to do it.
Gosh.
At least it starts the process off in a nice way.
Yeah. And obviously divorce, I presume a lot of reason people do it online is because they're going to think they're going to save money. They're worried it's going to be an expensive process.
Yeah. Well, the court fee, even to the courts, is £550 before you do anything. Even if you do it online, it's still £550. And that's to take you all the way through the process. But as I say, it can cost you in the long term because you don't sort the finances out properly, or one party loses out. The whole point of having family solicitors and the court looking at the paperwork is to make sure there's some form of equity, and there's some sort of protection going forward. Whether it's pensions sharing, as I say, or asset sharing, or maybe putting the house into trust, or even what's called a measure order, which is basically one party has the house until the children are of age, 18 or 18, and then the property's sold, but then at least the children have somewhere to live, and they can stay in their own house. So there's things like that to consider, and online, you can't do that online. And you can't also see or hear from a family solicitor who knows the system and knows what's best, because we do it every day.
Well, I'm sure that you managed to smooth the way through a very difficult time for people, as much as you can, and you can speak from experience yourself. I mean, my parents were divorced as well, and I've been a stepmother as well as a stepchild, and I just hope for people these days, children these days whose parents get divorced, there's less of a stigma, because it is so much more common than it was perhaps for our generation.
Oh, definitely, yes. I mean, I'm a stepmother as well, and I made very clear to my husband when we got married that he would not let his daughter down. If he said he was going to pick her up, he would go and pick her up. So yeah, we are speaking from experience, but no, it's not easy. I think the other thing is it's difficult we try and take the emotion out of it, but at the same time being a little bit empathetic, and to know what we think is the best, and what the courts would agree with as well. So it's not just about filling out the forms. It's about helping people on that journey. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I set up, the Hungerford office, because we've got an IFA here who can help sorting out the pension sharing and the best way for both parties to get the most out of their, what they've got collectively, in a quick way. So, we can do that, because, as I say, it's not just for today. No. It's for the future.
And if a family home has to be sold, and the two properties that the both partners end up buying is going to be a lot smaller than what they originally had, and that must be quite a shock for people.
Yeah, it is, and again, there's guidelines for number of bedrooms and that children can have. 10-year-olds sharing, boys and girls sharing. But it's not always that easy. If you haven't got the money, then you have to go with what you can afford. So again, I work with local people in Hungerford and Marlborough to try and find somebody a suitable property, So we know what the budget is, and we can do mortgage capacity reports with our IFA. Just helping people in what is a really difficult time.
Really difficult time.
Having said that, Penny, there is an increase in people getting over 65 getting divorced. Yeah. Obviously, retirement doesn't suit everybody. Yeah.
Gosh, well, I mean, if you still feel you've got, another chapter of your life ahead of you, then why not? I think in everything, it's fine if the decision is mutual. If both parties are not happy, then it's the best solution. It's just sad when one is not happy and the other one's quite content and doesn't understand the problem.
Yeah, we do get that as well. I have people coming in with paperwork and so I don't know where this came from, and I don't want to get divorced, and I have to sort of gently say, well, unfortunately you are, because your spouse has decided that, so we just need to make sure that we do it as nice as possible.
So in a case like that, what grounds would that other spouse have to present to the court?
Well, it'll be the grounds of unreasonable behaviour, unfortunately. So they will have said things like, he spends all the time on his model railway and doesn't support me, or she didn't support me building up my business, so we drifted apart, or she's a spendaholic, or things like that.
Okay, so this person is unaware of these crimes they've committed in the relationship, and they just haven't been able to communicate about it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we did one last year, and it literally was a couple of decide. My client was shocked because she thought they were going to spend the rest of their retirement together, and he had other plans. And unfortunately, he decided he was going to go and live with somebody else in his retirement, and my client was devastated, absolutely devastated. And did have to come in a couple of times. Some people come into us asking the advice on what to do. They don't always make the decision to get divorced there and then. I present what could happen and what would happen, and possibly what's the best course of action. And then some people go away and think about it, and then maybe come back in a few months' time and say, yeah, you're right, we'll go ahead with that. And it also, as I say, if people are presented with it and they didn't realise what they were doing, it can be a big shock to them.
So in that case where he wanted to leave her for somebody else, he would be the one doing the unreasonable behaviour, presumably, not her.
Well, no, not always, because some people want to have their cake and eat it, Penny. And in this case, that's what happened. He wanted to still stay friends, but he wanted to go and move in with somebody else. And my client was devastated, so we filed for divorce against him for his adultery. But he didn't want to get divorced.
Oh right. Oh okay. So and he had to accept that it was his behaviour. Right. Okay. Yeah.
Even though he didn't think doing anything wrong.
That seems fair. So if anybody watching this or listening to this wants any more advice, friendly kind of, do you get people asking you for kind of off the record advice, like, I'm not sure, but
I mean, our first calls are always free, Penny, so anybody can ring up and say, I'm thinking about this, and is this the best course of action for me? And yes, that is free of charge, obviously. But yeah, we do have quite a lot of those.
So do courts ever ask that couples have done any kind of couples counselling before they make that final decision, especially if they have got children?
No, not counselling, no. Mediation on the actual divorce and arrangements, but again, there's lots of reasons why, exemptions why you don't have to do mediation. Mediation isn't, if somebody in the marriage is feeling intimidated or controlled, they don't want to go to mediation because they will still feel intimidated and controlled even in that situation. So they won't want to go. But separated parents courses, yes. But actual marriage guidance counselling, no.
No, okay, but hopefully people do try on their off their own bat. Hopefully, most couples before they make that final decision will have tried some kind of counselling. Hopefully,
Yeah, and communication. I mean, the communication is important, especially at this strange time. You know, even a simple word such as, you know, did you mean to be so nasty, or did you say that in that way? You know, and the other person might say, well, no, I've just had a bad day. I've been locked in all day, and I want to go for a walk. It can be as simple as that.
Absolutely. It's so easy to make assumptions about somebody else, but until you actually ask them about it, you never know for sure.
Yeah, as I say, at this difficult time when everybody's in the house, or, you know, even just going for a walk together. You know, my husband and I walk around the garden washing the plants after work. He's at home, I'm here, but we walk around the garden and just chat about rubbish. But just, you know, that's, and people can go out for a walk, even though you're in a flat or in the middle of town. You know, you can always go out for a walk. But it is sometimes, it's just the sharpness that maybe, you know, we could tone down a little bit at the moment. Because everybody is tense.
Everybody's on edge. Yeah.
Everybody's worried about things. But even just saying to your partner, you know, I see you're worried. You know, can I do anything? Can I help? Can we share the burden? Even just talking.
Talking is so helpful though, rather than keeping it locked up. So just being able to share a problem shared, isn't that the old wives' tale?
Exactly. That's why we get a lot of phone calls, just to say, you know, what is his position? What would my position be? And you know, he's done this, he's done that. I mean, there was a case in the High Court last year, the year before, and she was not allowed to get divorced because her reasons for divorce on the petition were he didn't do the washing up, he didn't put the garbage out, and the court said that's not a good enough reason. So, you know, next time you want to think about getting divorced because he doesn't do the washing up, just ask him to do the washing up. You know, do you realise those plates have sat there for 2 days? You know, that could save you a whole heap of heartache. I mean, your job. But, yeah.
Lovely. So just to recap, you've got a new office now in Hungerford. You've also got a Marlborough office. And people can pick up the phone and have a no obligation, no fee chat with you anytime.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, the Hungerford office, as I say, there's going to be the financial advisor is going to be here, and we've got an accountant as well, bookkeeper, to help with any tax issues or anything like that, and myself. So the Hungerford office will be fully manned as of this week. Alex and I are going to be here, and in Marlborough as well. So yeah, anybody's got any questions or how they will be placed or what's the best thing to do, just give us a call.
Lovely. Great. Thank you very much, Karen. Thank you.
You're very welcome, Penny.